Probably, yeah. So welcome everybody. We've got Sarah Booth and Samantha Holden and Davina Mellows, all from Warwick University, to talk about what student life is really like. So over to you.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for having us join you today. And yeah, I hope the sun is shining where you are. I've got the window right here and my blind is unfortunately closed so that I don't get blinded by the sun. But hopefully it's nice and sunny with you too. Guys, today we're going to talk about student life, and my name is Sarah Booth. I work at the University of Warwick, so I am sadly no longer a student, but I do have a degree. I did my study at the University of Essex many years ago. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about student life. So I've got Davina and Samantha, who are current students. They're living the dream. They're going to have the bulk of this session to talk to you from their own experience. But I just want to kind of set the scene a little bit for you to start with. And I think what I'm going to say is that student life for all of you will look a little bit different, because you'll all go to different universities and you'll all have different courses that you're studying, and you're going to meet different people and you're going to have different experiences that you're going to take part in. So you'll all probably have quite different experiences of what university like. But I think there will be a lot of similarities as well. And I think for me, the biggest kind of thing university gave me was an opportunity. It was an opportunity to try new things, to explore my subject area, and to basically explore myself as well, to kind of understand what I was capable of achieving and what opportunities were out there, and what things that, you know, it gave me an opportunity to try things that I'd never thought I'd try before. So I think that will definitely be the case for all of you. You'll be faced with lots of opportunities, and I'm sure Davina and Samantha are going to tell you about some of their opportunities in a second. But I think if I could say one thing about my university experience, my best thing about university is actually something that I've only just come to realise in the last few years. And that is that the people that I met at university and the connections that I made, you know, many of them are still really close friends, and I still see them now. And I graduated a really long time ago. I'm ancient now. So, you know, but the people that you meet at university and the friendships that you make and the connections that you have will last you for an incredibly long time. And I think that for me is the most important thing about student life. And on that note, I'm going to hand straight over to Samantha and Davina to talk to you from their own experience. So guys, over to you. Thank you.
Yes, I will hopefully get the PowerPoint up and working now. PowerPoint, it doesn't seem to be working now for some reason. Samantha, can you get it up potentially?
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see that.
So yeah, welcome to our talk. It's about the University of Warwick, and we're going to kind of give our perspective, but like Sarah said, everyone's going to have different perspectives. So I'm in my third year and my final year, and I'm studying philosophy, politics and law. And when I was in your situation, I kind of didn't know what I wanted to study. I didn't know whether to study something I'd done at A-level or GCSE, or whether to try something new. So I'd only studied philosophy before. I'd never studied politics and never studied law, and those two actually turned out to be my favourite too. So kind of just go with what your gut tells you. I know that's very easy to say, but have a look at all the different courses all across the universities, and there will be something out there for you. It's just a case of doing a bit of research beforehand. And I kind of had to think about what would suit me best. So I kind of knew that I had an interest in politics before coming to university. I studied philosophy at A-level and I was quite good at that. And then law, I thought, oh, I'm not really sure what I'll do at the end of my degree in terms of a career. So I took law kind of as like an add-on, but it turned out to be my favourite, even though I don't actually want to have a legal career.
Yep, and I'm Davina, so I'm a third year maths student at Warwick, and I think I was definitely someone who was always like, yeah, I want to do maths, I like maths, that is what I'll do. That makes sense. And I'm now applying to do a master's in computer science next year, which is something that I'd never done before university. But because of the flexibility of the course at Warwick, I've been able to do modules in engineering, computer science, physics, philosophy. And because of that, that's now changed what I want to do my master's in. So don't worry. I think some people might be looking at maybe like integrated masters. You don't have to decide everything before university. Things can change. And as a bit of a background about me, I'm a first generation university student. So I'm the first person in my family to go to university. So if we go on to the next slide, please. So we want to talk a little bit about our courses. Obviously, being maths and PPL, we're kind of at the two different styles of like STEM and humanity that we can talk about what we do in our degrees. I would say the step up from A-level to university for me was very, very big. I found the content to be a lot more difficult. It's presented in a really different way. And also the contact hours for maths in particular are very high. I was in lectures all day. I had up to 5 assignments a week sometimes. And as stressful as that was to like towards the start of first year, it's definitely something that you adjust to with time. And because of the big difference as well, there's so much support from the department. That's something I liked about Warwick in particular, is that we have something called supervisions. So you have your lecturers, they give you all of the content, they teach all of the stuff. You have your personal tutor, who is like one of the lecturers, and they look after the pastoral side, making sure that you're doing okay. But you also have someone called a supervisor. There's actually in the top picture there, I have no idea who these people are, and it looks like it was taken from quite a while ago, but that's what a supervision looks like, where it's 5 students to 1 master's student or a PhD student, and they go through all of the content that you're struggling with. And that kind of close contact with academic people is something that I found really, really useful during that transition phase. And I think working at university does look really different to what it's like in school and at college. That picture at the bottom here, this is the maths and computer science department, which just alone is huge. In there you have the workspace, which is just for math students, and something that I found to be a really nice community vibe. I noticed that if I was struggling on some problems, some older students would come over and say, oh, I remember struggling with that. This is how I did it. And that kind of community was something that I really, really liked while studying here. With that as well, the teaching style is very different. And if we go on to the next slide, sitting in lectures is probably something that's very different than what you're used to. I have about 350 people on my course. So we'll all sit in one of these massive rooms, and it's called chalk and talk in maths because they just stand at a chalkboard and off they go. Because of that, that's kind of the style of how we have lectures. And we also have seminars where for us, we have optional questions set. And if we want help with those, we go to the seminars. But seminars is something that's very different for other subjects, such as like PPL, which I think Samantha can take over with now.
Yeah. So here you can see with like all the orange chairs. Oh, let me move that. That's one of our biggest lecture theatres. So that seats 500 people. So I went from being in a class with about 20 people to then becoming in a lecture theatre with 500 people. And Davina's kind of mentioned this, but the lecture will be a very broad overview of what you're going to study that week. And then in the seminars, you'll go away and do some reading, and then you'll discuss the reading or discuss a topic. And those are in the smaller rooms that you can see located around. Some of them you might have to do some preparation for. Some of them you might just come to and just have a discussion, have a talk. They'll help you with your essay planning. But what I would say as well is the style of learning is much more about being driven by you. So, for example, one week you might not be interested in that particular topic, but the next week you might be more interested. So you can choose to do more of your focus on reading on those weeks. So you can be a bit more selective. And in the humanities, you don't have to learn everything on the syllabus. You can just choose the weeks that are most interesting to you. And even like in the politics department, they allow you to choose your essay question that you want to do. So there's really a lot of flexibility at university. So in terms of how learning sort of changed for me, I went from being taught everything at school, probably with your teacher standing at the front and just talking at you and you're making some notes, to much more independent learning. So you'll be doing the reading on your own, you'll be able to do different things that interest you. I think most of you might have heard of Moodle, and that's kind of like online learning. And obviously you guys are probably going to be really good pros at it now because you've been doing online learning for quite a while. And in like the bottom here, you can see all the different law textbooks. So they're quite thick. So there is a lot of reading, but there's also a lot of, you can watch videos. Some of my lecturers have film lists. So instead of doing the reading, you can watch a film which relates to it. So I quite enjoy those weeks. But there's lots of different types of learning. And obviously we've been doing it virtually with you guys this year, but in real life, you would be having lectures on campus and seminars on campus. So I think Davina said that her hours really increased. So I'm a humanities student, and in my final year, I only have 9 hours where I have to be on campus or go to that. But that means that you need to be doing a lot of like independent work, and you need to be very like self-motivated and self-driven.
So the non-academic part to university, a massive part of that is sports and societies. That's something that I've really like thrown myself into in like the 3 years that I've been here. There's literally hundreds of different sports and societies that you can join. And if you would have said to me 3 years ago that I would be the president of the Cheese and Chocolate Society or even a member of the Scottish Society, I would have been very surprised, partially because I'm not Scottish as well. But I think that kind of shows the random things that you get involved with at university. I joined that society because my friends set it up and I wanted to support them. And that's now something that I love, going to their events. In the same way, I never thought I'd be playing netball at university. I am no pro netball player, and did not think I wouldn't want to play for the university team. But I joined the maths netball team just to meet some new people because I used to play netball at school. I ended up being picked for captain the next year and then was sports officer of the society. So ran like all of the sports teams this year, which is something that I've enjoyed so much. And you just get such a range of opportunities at university. From like, I've included a picture of the climbing centre here that I can't wait to get back into once it opens up again. But I'd never climbed before university, and now that's like my main sport. And also, I saw this poster up in the maths department, and thought, well, I've always wanted to go to Machu Picchu. And within a year, I raised over £3,000 for Action Against Hunger and did a 100-kilometre trek to Machu Picchu, which is just the most insane experience that I've ever had. And the fact I managed to do that at the age of 19, I definitely wouldn't have been able to if it wasn't through the university. And that was just such like an incredible thing to be a part of. But with that, so sports and societies are a huge part of university, but there's also a part to better yourself for your career, which Samantha will talk a little bit about now.
Yeah. So, what is, like Davina's just mentioned, there's loads of different societies that you can join, but also something that I was a bit worried about was the cost of university and coming to it. But you do get given a student loan, and I would say quite a few people have a student job as well, which kind of like tops up their student loan, and that will offer you like a variety of different opportunities. So you get to meet people. Like I probably wouldn't have met Davina because she does maths and we wouldn't really have met. So it's a good opportunity to meet people who are outside of your degree. It's also a really good opportunity to develop some skills. So, okay, yeah, you are there to get a degree, but when you come to the end of your degree, lots of people will have degrees and you need to make yourself stand out. So what can you do on top? So I've done an internship. So I did mine with the civil service. And that's kind of because I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. But it was really good for teaching me what I liked about a job, what I didn't like about a job. And they actually gave me if you did well on the internship, they would give you a fast pass to a job, which would mean that you didn't need to fill in all the different tests and would go straight to an assessment centre. So that's a really good opportunity to sort of boost your job prospects. And then here you can see like a careers fair with all the different people. So that's where they'll have different stalls about doing masters, becoming a teacher, lots of different businesses will turn up, you get lots of freebies, but it's a really good opportunity just to have a chat to the people who are actually living and breathing those jobs and see what might suit you. and the careers team really good at Warwick actually. So here you can see, like, in the purple screen, it's called My Advantage, and they do the hard work for you. They go through all the different grad jobs and they look for the different things that might be suitable for Warwick candidates. And then you just type in like a few keywords. So if you're looking for an internship, and then you apply through those schemes, and they'll help you with mock interviews, mock applications, assessment centres, lots of things which I didn't really know too much about beforehand. And then I've also had some opportunities to work in Westminster. So I worked with the Department for Education and also with the Ministry of Defence, where they did like mock scenarios where you had to extract British citizens who were trapped on this island where there was a volcano exploded. So lots of things that you probably didn't see yourself doing before you came to university. And also there's the opportunity to do Warwick Volunteers. So that's where you might volunteer to be a mentor to someone, or there's lots of different opportunities with them. So if you like animals, there's like animal rescue things that you can do. And again, it's an opportunity to meet people and gain some really good skills and sort of build your CV as you're going through university. So I'm just going to give you a few like tips or like hacks. Some of them are Warwick specific and some of them are just about university in general. So my first piece of advice would be, don't overpack your car. When I went to university, I kind of took all my belongings with me. I was like, I'm going to need all of this stuff. I think everyone does. It's like a tradition really, but go to IKEA and buy loads of stuff and bring it to university, only for it to sit in a cupboard. So I would say, just think like, will I need this? Is it going to be essential? And don't overpack, because now I've accumulated more stuff and now I'm going to have to bring it all back at the end of my degree. So just be careful with like what you take. I would also say, make sure you do some budgeting. So for a lot of my flatmates, it's the first time that they'd had that sort of money before, or they'd had any form of money in their bank account. So some of them were better at budgeting than others. So when you first get your student loan, it's quite a lot of money and you think, oh yeah, I can go and do whatever I want. I can have as many cocktails or as many like pieces of chocolate as you want. But that money has to last you for 3 or 4 months, if not a bit longer. So be practical, like think what's in my price range, and sort of budget week for week. And the same with accommodation. I think there's a lot of pressure perhaps to choose the most expensive, and that's where you'll have the best time. I would say it's more about the people that you live with, and at work they match you with people who are similar to you and have sort of similar interests and hobbies to you. So I would say, don't think just because it's the most expensive it's the best. Like, think what's best for you. I would say as well, I've learned to avoid the geese as well, probably as another skill, particularly in the spring. Another great sort of life skill that you'll learn, because you learn to be more independent, is the ability to learn to cook. And even my friends who didn't want to learn to cook, they would do the washing up and I would do the cooking. So it kind of works like that. Also here you can see where we all dressed up like in Greece theme, and they do different themed nights. So you'll meet lots of different people and just have a good time really. But you'll also meet people from around the world. So that's my friend from Mauritius. I've got friends from Greece, like friends from all over the world. So like even your flatmate next door might be from Dubai, and like my other friend was from Yorkshire. So it really varies. And you'll also learn to do your washing. So appreciate your parents or whoever you live with now for doing that, because that's something I don't really enjoy about university.
Yeah, so I think to just kind of like conclude with everything that we'd said, I asked Samantha to just put in a few pictures where it just kind of represents what the past 3 years have been like. And this is just such a small snapshot of what has been such like an incredible, crazy 3 years. You meet so many people and from like different backgrounds, have like incredible experiences. And you grow up a lot at university as well. And it's like the perfect time to do it. And yeah, I think if you have any questions for either of us about anything to do with university, we will happily answer them. And yeah, thanks for listening.
Brilliant. Thank you very, very much. I'm getting feedback on that. So just a couple of links, things that you guys mentioned. You mentioned about clubs and societies and how there was literally hundreds of them available at university. And that's the same for all universities. Like Warwick has a ridiculous amount compared to the number of students we have. So if you want to check out the ones that we have, I'm going to pop a little link now in the chat so you can kind of have a look at our Students' Union page and you can see all the different clubs and societies, but that will certainly give you a kind of indicator as to what's available at different universities. We also completely appreciate that at the moment you guys probably really want to get out there and actually see for yourselves what university is like and go along to open days. We're obviously in a position at the moment where we can't run open days physically, but we are running them online. So we're going to run them loads in June. All universities, I'm chatting to various colleagues across different universities at the moment, and they're all going to run virtual events. And then as soon as we can do physical events, we will be doing them. So if any of you have kind of questions about anything that Samantha and Davina have said, then just do type them into the chat. Don't worry too much. There's 160 of you in the session. So if you all ask a question, then that's great. We can question pick. But if you don't have a question, I'm sure somebody else will. And I'm also just going to pop a link in the chat here for what's called our Warwick Experience Days. And again, this is these are virtual events, and we know that you want to see what kind of university campuses look like. We've talked about Warwick being a campus university. That's quite different to a university that's kind of a city-based one where all your buildings might be spread out across the city. So on Friday and Saturday, we're going to be running kind of virtual campus tours, which is the best we can do at the moment. But it'll give you a sense of, if you're interested in Warwick, of what Warwick's like, but if you're not worried about Warwick, about kind of what a campus university would look like. So you've had a question in from Julia, or not a question from Julia, but just to say this is the best talk I went to today. Oh, that's lovely. You guys are so well coordinated and informative together, so thank you. Well, I actually think that's testament to our ambassadors. And I think Samantha touched on it when you said about how working as a Warwick Welcome Service and how that gives you kind of job skills as well. I wonder if you want to say, either of you, about as working as a welcome service, so kind of as ambassadors, have you done anything that you didn't think you would do at university? Like, have you kind of pushed yourself beyond your comfort zones in any way? I don't know whether, Davina, do you want to start on that?
Potentially, maybe not push myself into like new experiences, but I feel like a lot of the jobs I've done, it's been so interesting to meet so many people. I love working on the open days. I've really missed doing that this year because I always end up speaking to just like so many people, and the idea that like you influence someone into their university decision, I find it like so interesting, because I remember that the student ambassador I spoke to at Warwick was a huge influence on my decision, because she was so lovely and so friendly. So the thought that I could potentially be doing that for someone else is something that like makes me enjoy the job so much. I've also found it really useful in that when I was in first year maths at the time, quite new, very stressed about not being good enough for the course and like whether I could like do all my work in time. And there was a third year maths student who I worked on an event with, and I just had a chat with her and she calmed me down about everything. She was like, I was exactly the same, don't worry about it. And that's just like such an incredible experience. It's always really stuck with me.
Samantha, do you want to give your thoughts?
I really like working for Warwick Welcome Service because it's quite good for like structuring your week, because if you know you have a commitment to do something that I didn't think that I would do is take 300 year sevens to London, central London. Very stressful, but it's very good for like teaching you life skills. Like when you can go to an interview and be like, I took 300 year sevens to central London. Obviously you're with supported, and like they do send I don't want to call them real adults, but sometimes you don't feel like a complete adult at university. And I think that's a good opportunity to learn what you do like in a job, what you don't like. So I know that I like it being flexible. And I think that's really good at Warwick, that you know that the university is going to look after you and it kind of supports around your schedule so you can apply for certain roles. But I think, yeah, like Davina said, it's the people that you meet. And like I don't personally think that I would have met someone from maths if I didn't do WWS. So Yeah, I just say like apply for as many jobs as you think you can do or like is manageable, because I have lots of part-time jobs, and it might be you do something 1 month or you might do something every couple of weeks. It really does vary. So just try and get involved as much as you can.
Lovely, thank you very much. I'm also going to put a link in here, so obviously when physical events do start up again, you can register interest for physical events, and we'll let you know, with hoping September onwards. And again, I think the sector as a whole is doing that as well. So Henry has asked a question. Henry wants to know, how does student accommodation work, and are they run by the university or a separate company? Obviously we'll talk about Warwick from this perspective, but you know, it's kind of similar across universities. So Davina, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so there's like loads of different types of accommodation on campus. So for Warwick, it is a campus university. So primarily, if you're in first year, you will be on campus, which is something that I really enjoyed, because literally everyone that you meet in first year is maximum like a 15-minute walk away from you. So it's just like such a great environment to be in. And with that, they accommodate for very different types of accommodation. So I kind of had friends from people across the board. So I had some friends in Bluebell, which is our most expensive accommodation. You pay a lot extra for a double bed, and I would say it's probably not worth how much you pay for that double bed and the ensuite. So they had like a good time in there, but a lot of them have said that looking back, they probably wouldn't pay that much money for their accommodation. And then that goes all the way down to, I know someone who shared a kitchen with like 20 people and had like the best time. And that was something called Roots accommodation, where that's more on the like more cost effective side because you share a bathroom with people. I will say from experience, I was one of the people who was like, I need an ensuite to go to university. I don't know how I'm going to manage without it. So I did pick Arthur Vic, which I have no regrets because I met the most incredible people. My flat were like super international and lovely, and I had the best time. But then if those same people were in a different accommodation, it would have been equally as fine. You kind of go into second year and third year and you all share bathrooms anyway, and you're like, oh, what was this massive deal that I thought? I presume, Samantha, you've had like a similar experience.
Yeah, so I lived in Sherborne in my first year, and I was a bit like Davina. I also wanted an ensuite, but I would say in my second year, so in your second year, you move off campus, and so first year is like a practice kind of run, in my opinion, like where you're supported, you learn like those basic life skills, and then second year you'll move to either like Coventry. Loads of people go to Royal Leamington Spa, Kenilworth, Canley's like our nearest sort of like local area, and I think Sarah will correct me, but I think now you have to go privately. And Warwick did own some accommodation, but I think now you just have to rent off private landlords. But I would say is the student union's really good because they give you like a list of landlords who they've worked with before, and the SU will read your contract for you. So that's the thing I would really take use of. I would also say don't panic. Like when I turned up like 3 weeks in, everyone was like, have you found accommodation for second or third year? And I was like, no, panicked. And you don't really know that many people at that stage. And I would say, as long as you find somewhere like by March, I would even say like there's lots of accommodation. Like accommodation isn't going to run out. So don't be like rushed or panicked into finding somewhere. I just say like think what's best for you and sort of hang on. Yeah, that's my overall summary.
Brilliant, thank you guys. We've had two really great questions, and we've got like 2 minutes left, so we might not get a chance to do both of them, but we do have more student life sessions on that work experience thing, so if you do want to hear more, then come along. Lucy's asked a really interesting question. She's seen some stuff about student protests on campus at the moment and around kind of safety and security, and she wants to know from your experiences, what is it like as a young woman on campus, and do you feel safe, and how has the university kind of supported you?
Yeah, so I would say that there's security on campus, and I felt really safe on campus, to be honest. Like I would walk back from the library at 4 a.m. on my own, but I wouldn't do that perhaps if I didn't live on a campus university. I know there has been some protests, and I think obviously the way it's been handled does different people have different opinions on that, but I personally have never felt unsafe. I don't know if you have anything you want to add, Davina.
Yeah, I definitely think the campus security are incredible on campus. It's really well lit, which is something that my parents were very thankful to see, and I would always remind them that I would walk back late at night and I'd pass campus security, say hi to them, have a chat. I do think obviously there's like been lots of things that's gone on. And as unfortunate as it is, it does happen at every university. And I'm glad that Warwick is now taking it on and trying to make a difference, and that students are also trying to make a difference. I think that really says something about the type of people that we have at this university. But yeah, I think unfortunately it is something that happens in lots of places. And because of the campus style of university compared to a city style of university, I've always felt extremely safe on campus.
Brilliant. Thank you for talking about that from your own experience, guys, as well. And sure, if anybody has any questions about kind of the university and about what they're doing to kind of make students feel more supported on campus, we have a whole section on kind of support and well-being and our kind of community values and ethos on our web pages as well. So it's really important that you really do research your universities and go and find out a little bit about their values and kind of how it feels there. And I think, are we meant to finish at 1:45, or have we got a little bit of time left?
We've got a tiny bit of time, actually. You can overrun a bit, so don't worry if there's more questions.
We can overrun a little bit, in which case Iona Marie has asked a brilliant question, which is, what is the nightlife like at Warwick? So I don't know whether you've probably got different experiences maybe. So Davina, do you want to kick off with what's the nightlife like for you?
Yeah, sure. So I definitely went to university not sure whether I was like a nights out person, nights in person, and I've had incredible experiences with both of those in my time at university. We have something at Warwick where we have a night out on campus. We have a couple of those, and we have a couple in like the local towns as well. So you have a good range of places to go. I personally love the nights on campus. You tend to like meet up beforehand with your sport team or your society, and you'll kind of have a few games for like a few hours beforehand, and then you'll all go to this. It's called the Copper Rooms, the like nightclub we have on campus. And a lot of the time you could be wearing something really stupid. I think we had something called Tropical Pop, because pop is like the night out, and I was in full Hawaiian gear in like November, and it's just something where you have like a really fun time. I definitely think that nightlife is something that I really enjoy, but with that I love that there's also a focus on like both drinking and sober events. I have friends who don't drink and they'll still come on nights out, and they still love doing like getting involved with everything. And at the same time, to make sure everyone's included, they'll have things like, we did laser tag with one of our societies, and then make sure they have like non-drinking events so that everyone can get involved in different ways.
Yeah, and also I think they run party buses from the university, which will take you to bigger places like Birmingham. I know they also go to the local areas, which is really good because things like £10, and it's for your ticket there, ticket back, and it's kind of like also to get into the club. And I think it takes that worry off, well, I need to get an Uber back, and I think it's just that bit of reassurance. I would say there's lots of different things to do. And I think also, even if you're not necessarily want to go clubbing, there's lots of bars on campus, and like they're always really busy. So it doesn't even have to be nightlife. And there's also like flat parties and things like that. So there always seems to be something going on, is what I would say.
Brilliant. And just to add to that, of course, that the Warwick Arts Centre will be reopening as soon as kind of term restarts. I think it's going to open from September onwards, which is one of the kind of community venues on campus, and it's just been undergoing renovations. So it'll have 3 cinema screens and a huge concert hall, and there's studios for live comedy and all sorts of stuff. So if you're not really interested in kind of the party side, there's kind of more kind of cultural and arts sides of stuff on campus as well. So I'm particularly looking forward to that reopening. Cool. Well, I think we've answered most of the questions that have come in. So thank you very, very much for having us today. Thank you to Samantha and Davina for sharing your experiences. I think you were great. Thank you. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the rest of your university research. And hopefully we'll see some of you in the future.
Oh, thank you so much, ladies. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.